My view on this at the minute with AI, because it's still fairly new in the stages, is you shouldn't be using it for something new. It should be improving existing processes.
I would urge everybody to go in and say, who's the best estate agent in your area? Because if that's what the consumer is doing, you need to be able to go into that valuation and to be able to deal with that up front.
44% of estate agents use AI. Today, I'm joined by some of the biggest names in the estate and letting agency industry as part of the Voice of the Agent survey, which interviewed over 800 estate agents about their thoughts on the industry. And this particular video talks about AI. Simon Whale, you are the king of prop tech. 44% of estate agents use AI, mainly using ChatGPT. Where do you think AI is going to help estate agents in the medium to long term? Because let's be honest, we've all had a play on ChatGPT, haven't we? And done the funny pictures and things like that.
ChatGPT, could you please answer Chris's question there? Yeah, it's, first of all, just to shoot it down, and again, at the risk of getting kicked off this panel, they're absolutely wrong. You know, they talk here about how often do you use AI. 23% say daily, 58% said weekly. That might be consciously using it. They will be using AI through the various products and things like that without a shadow of a doubt out there. So, you know, loads of the CRM systems are now helping do that, helping create writing particulars and everything else out there. Any of the generic tools out there in terms of marketing as well, you know, are absolutely having this layered into it. And I think what's absolutely fascinating for me here is this is going to be this isn't like QR codes first time around where it kind of stalled and then broke here. This is the game changing technology that we're ever going to see in our lives.
Just like blockchain was 5 years ago.
Far more important than that. And that's the difficulty, because the difficulty with blockchain is you have to implement it. This is happening whether you're aware of it or not. And what's brilliant about it, not to jump back, but the second page here talks about how do you actually use it? 74% of it is around content production. 28% is in terms of marketing. As brilliant as this is, and 2023 was the year of ChatGPT, and it was only just before that it launched, wasn't it? That's the absolute tip of the iceberg. The really good stuff, funny enough, is down there at the bottom. Data analysis, automation. When you get AI into that, that's where, and this is where, you know, you get a bit Elon Musk about it, talking about nobody need have a job if they don't want to. How you can reallocate those human resources to actually doing the stuff, the productive that the AI can't, is going to be the challenge of the next 3 years.
Where do you think AI is going to make a huge difference, specifically for estate agents and solving their problems?
In general, it's across the board. It genuinely, there's no part of the business. If you think about just the efficiencies, one of the companies out there that is looking at it, if there is a process that you do more than 5 hours a week, you can create these, what they call these disco bots that essentially will allow you to do that via AI, and before it was cool to call it that, machine learning and everything else. We've got Paul next to here. We need to ask the question about them. They've been using that for the previous 5 years with their propensity model. And that's the easiest tee up for you ever, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Just before I go into that, I think it's interesting that a lot of agents say they're using it. I think a lot of agents are using it badly, actually. And a lot of agents will be using it for writing property descriptions or content. And my view on this at the minute with AI, because it's still fairly new in the stages, is you shouldn't be using it for something new. It should be improving existing processes. So I've seen you should be writing the property descriptions yourself still, but optimizing it through ChatGPT and improving it is my opinion. I think some of them are using it wrongly, but Simon's right. AI is not new. It's been around for ages. So just an example for us, we've had an AI predictive model which can predict who's likely to move house in the next 2 months. Now, we built that 7 years ago. We're on about our 10th iteration. The nature of AI is it learns over time. So it's all about machine learning. And to be frank, it didn't work in the first 3 or 4 years. It was rubbish at predicting who's likely to move.
But it's now those images you do with 7 fingers on your.
But now we fine-tuned it, and now it's amazing how accurately it can predict because of all the data points going into it.
I mean, I think the big thing that people, and you're both completely right, so I agree with everything you said. We're all using AI all the time, we just don't notice it. And actually, for a lot of those lower down the chart, you'll never see those because they're behind the scenes. And that's almost the reality of what's happening. There's two kind of movements that are happening in the tech world, which are really accelerating how things will happen to all of us. One is voice search, and one is AI. I can envisage a situation in 10 years' time. I spoke to a whole bunch of futurologists to kind of, in marketing, say, what's going to be the big changes coming to us as an industry over the next 10 years? And they say, we won't use browsers. We won't go and search things. We'll just talk to a device. And I'll say, could you send me a report with the 5 houses in the area that match my criteria? You already know my criteria because you already profiled me with the AI. And literally get produced. So unless you've optimized your content in your website in natural language that a search engine, an AI-powered search engine can find, you'll disappear. And the big threat to Google, and this is why Google's panicking about it, is we won't need Google anymore. I don't use Google these days, apart from the odd search for a very practical thing. You know, a train time, for example. If Google is reduced... sorry, I didn't mean to excite you there.
Somebody's interested.
For a basic functional thing, I might use Google. I don't want to see 20 results with advertising next to it. I want this clever bit of AI to summarize the answers for me and give me a really thought out piece with sources so I can go and find the original information. Once I can do that by voice accurately, it's Siri on steroids, and we'll just talk to tech.
You know, I think what's really interesting there, Simon, is that, not that anyone's ever going to shed a tear for prop tech, but one of the tech businesses, whether it's in our business or wider there's a slowdown in the mergers and acquisitions that's happening there because everyone's now, the people that are applying the multipliers, looking to acquire it, are running the rule. Is AI going to help this company grow in the future? Or actually, as you've just said there, is it potentially a threat? And that's fascinating.
Actually, the point around commerciality is an interesting one because if we think that those that are, if you like, in charge of AI and the development of it, if they're not going to commercialise it to make sure that there's revenue from it, then we're very mistaken. Yeah. So how that manifests itself in terms of pay to use or adverts, who knows? So that the whole thing will be bastardised. But yes, the point I was going to make that is we sit here now around this table and as an industry thinking about all the opportunities that AI gives us. So, could it do an end-to-end sales progression with prediction, and comms and so on? Could it predict prices on a kind of local basis in a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time? Can it predict sellers? And Paul, you're saying yes, it can. So there's all these wonderful things that are an opportunity. But surely also as an industry, that means that we should fear it in terms of the amount of people it's going to take out of the industry. Because if you don't need admin anymore and you don't need sales progressors, you don't really need valuers anymore, then what does the estate agency industry become? Now, someone once said, and I genuinely forget who it was, you can't digitize empathy, right? So, and as a person that in 2008-9 thought that apparently online estate agents were going to take over the industry. I might have been not quite right about that.
I love it when you self-deprecate.
Not quite right. But what is definitely true is that you need people in the process, but how many people do you need versus AI technology that might wipe out, 80, 90% of the people?
Can I just disagree with you entirely, as I so often like to do? The empathy thing's done. The empathy thing was proved last year. They had a set experiment where they had human doctors responding to patients and they had AI responding to patients. First of all, the accuracy was better with the AI.
Like a chatbot.
In terms of responding to their tests and everything else on the back of it. The AI, unsurprisingly, found the scans more accurately, spotted, cancer was there. What was fascinating is we think that empathy is there, but doctors are famously known for being brusque and everything else. The AI, in the way that it responded, was made to feel more empathetic. And to that degree, the Turing test, people couldn't spot. And so we're there now.
Saying is it the eradication of 100% of estate agents?
Yeah. So we can't. But your point about valuers again, I don't think is until the robot is literally able to walk in the room and do that.
Yeah,
Skynet.
But that valuation will need context, right? So not just square footage and position in the road and size of garden and whatever. But it surely won't be long before AI can start to add in empathy and context and what the neighbour's house looks like, and whatever, all of those other things that a valuer will kind of feel as almost an intuitive thing that becomes part of the valuation. With that surely, to your point, is going to happen, right?
And I think it's potentially worse than that, because when I was in the early noughties working in financial service, the thing that we feared most were two elements: aggregation and disintermediation. Aggregation was the rise of the portals, money saving expert, money supermarket, like that, which meant they didn't have a relationship with us.
That worked out so well for the estate agency community.
Disintermediation is you remove the IFA altogether. Now, if I have all this technology and I can literally say to AI, I'd like to sell my house to the best possible person in this area. It's incredibly empathetic. It asks all the right questions. You can communicate it with WhatsApp. It does the valuation. It says, well, now go and scan the internet, run you a marketing campaign and find all the best people for you and we'll connect them with you. What role does the estate agent play at that point?
Therefore, we've got to come in and make sure that our personal branding is on point, because at the end of the day, all estate agents act and look the same.
Absolutely.
But you can't replicate a personality, can you? We've got AI replacing everything else, but fundamentally it's all about a buyer buying a home, and you could have the best systems in the world and the best AI with the best pictures, but fundamentally it's about getting a buyer buying a house. Where are the dangers in that? Anyone got anything to say?
You mentioned before about Google could well be on the way out. Google has trained an entire generation now to trust it almost implicitly. Not like the good old days of Ask Jeeves where you'd get some really weird stuff. Those were the original hallucinations. But the point about AI is that it's not 100% up-to-date information. Again, not to have a pop at my colleague over here, is I asked it the question the other day, how good was Liz Truss as a Prime Minister? It says, as of yet, Liz Truss hasn't been Prime Minister. Now, you could have missed it.
But you pay for it, you have the up-to-date one.
But this is the point, isn't it? I would urge everybody to go in and say, who's the best estate agent in your area? Because if that's what the consumer is doing, you need to be able to go into that valuation and to be able to deal with that up front.
And that's where the power of personal branding and social media, because at the end of the day, the problem with the estate agents is that we're all homogenized. But look at the self-employed agents and the ones that actually...
You need to build that trust and brand over a period of time, don't you? As you do so well, obviously, and the likes of Jerry Lyons and other people out there. So that you're not just contesting then the appraisal of tomorrow that's come off Rightmove or whatever else is. They've learned that you as a brand are tried, trusted, and are going to be one of the ones that you invite.
Because we're in a people business.
Yeah.
I think the point about AI is that if a consumer has gone through the whole AI process with an agent, with a property being presented by AI, whatever they've been, the moment that they walk into that property, it is an emotional connection that they need with that house. And that's one of the things. I'm not sure that we're ever going to be able to replicate that. So we have
But do they need a person in an agent to actually facilitate it? That's the question.
Well, and I think that's a really interesting question. I think some agents right now facilitate that dream extremely well, not necessarily through empathy, but by the way that they talk about a property, by the way that they list a property, by the whole deal around it.
But there's also context. So, I mean, just to pick Simon up on a point, we talk about AI saying, deciding who the best estate agent is. Well, what does best mean? What context is best? Is it highest price, shortest sale, nicest looking staff? I mean, seriously, what does best mean? I mean, look, AI might get to that, but where the human at the moment has an advantage, you can assess that pretty quickly yourself on a face-to-face basis.
That's the future of the industry. You've all said it. It's down to the fact that if you have a personal relationship with the community locally, you are trusted locally. The person you'll let into your house, the person who will talk to you about the house, the person who will have just made sure that the reality of all the virtual reality matches the real reality.
So do we think that in 10 to 20 years' time, estate agency is what we probably all agree it is, which is people first, still aided by technology, rather than it being technology with people maybe being at the periphery? Which one do we think it is?
Admin's gone. Admin's disappeared.
Which no one really cares about, right?
Prospecting is probably to a large degree as well. There'll be AI nurture tools as well.
Yeah.
But that face-to-face business, that's the exciting bit, the bit you want to do.
Yeah, listing, viewing, offer negotiation. Yeah,
absolutely.
We all agree.
Final thoughts.
Yeah. I've scribbled down ways where AI is going to transform. So property valuations, AVM tools are going to be better than humans. They arguably are at the minute. Investors, landlords are going to know more than potentially an estate agent will because they've got it.
Or think they're good.
Customer service, chatbots, virtual assistants are going to be better than real people. Property search, Rightmove hasn't changed really in 20 years. The AI will know that I like 3-bed apartments with hot tubs on rooftops. Yeah. It is. Identifying risk and fraud. Augmented reality. I've seen a iPhone, the goggles now you can get, forget the name, but they are incredible. That's coming. That will revolutionize viewings and developers and things like that. So there's so much stuff coming very shortly. And I think as an estate agent, you just need to not bury your head in the sand and get onto this, right? Embrace it now.
You have to download this though to get this book, because the key thing is it's that one, that last bit. What is the one task you would like AI to be able to do that you do manually at the moment? Loads of different things in there. Again, download it, get the book, diary and task manager, social media management, automated views. Every single one of those, there are companies doing it out there at the moment, and that is really exciting.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
Brilliant.